Goody, everyone. This is Dayhawk, and this is a video that's been, quote unquote, years in the making. Because, as you know, Shaman King has been rebooted, and I wanted to do this experiment where I were to watch the new version and watch the old version and see how much of it is the same and what is different. And honestly, I don't know where to begin with this video because this is through memory. It comes from the heart, and it's based on my opinion, in my opinion only. To where to start? I started watching Shaman King back in 02 in the English dub, back where it used to be Fox Kids, but it turned into the Fox Box. And then years later, YouTube came around, and back then it was very easy to make contact and not be copyright strike for anything, and we were able to watch just about anything on YouTube back in those days. It was thanks to YouTube that I encountered Kamen Rider, I encountered Super Sentai. It's because of that particular era in the beginning stages of YouTube. And because of YouTube, I had the opportunity to rewatch Shaman King in its original contact and its original dubbing, which is Japanese. And there's a lot of differences compared to the English dub and the Japanese dub, because there are some things that we as Americans find it to be more adult than anything else, and that's why in the English dub there's a lot of censoring, a lot of tweaks that they needed to be quote unquote fixed, because it's it was aired in a children's like Fox Kids, Fox Box is like a block, like an hour or two block dedicated for children's stuff, and that's what it was. And then when I just watched Shaman King for the second time, because technically it is for the second time, I was awestruck on how much the English dub changed a couple of things. And then somewhere down the line, I've seen it for the third time, and it never gets old. It never gets old. I enjoyed, watching Shaman King, and I don't remember exactly how many times in total I watched Shaman King. 3 times, maybe 4 times. However, how many times I watched it, it was still pretty good. It tasted like fine wine, if you get my drift. And then when I heard that it's going to be a reboot, me personally, I hated reboots, I hated remakes, unless it was absolutely necessary. For me, if a show needs a reboot, I'll give you a perfect example. Tokyo Ghoul desperately needs a reboot after what happened in season 2 and then season 3. It was a mess. Season 1 was okay. It was passable, but after season 1, it just turned into a shit show. Promised Neverland season 2 was a mess, and I'm not even sure that if it's ever coming back for season 3. And those type of animes need a reboot because of those mistakes. Shows like Shaman King or Attack on Titan, Death Note, they don't need a reboot. But eventually, sooner or later, Death Note is going to be rebooted, and Attack on Titan will eventually get rebooted as well. There's no way around that. I'll be really surprised that they never gonna get a reboot. I'll be really surprised. But then again, Attack on Titan and Death Note is one of the most highly acclaimed animes you ever watch, you know. Sure, Death Note had its, moments where I personally wish that they haven't killed off L, but it's just after L died, it's just ugh. It was okay, but I'm saying that as an example. But for Tokyo Ghoul and Promised Neverland, you need a reboot just to make up for the mistakes. Honestly, I don't know where to begin. And so I figured, what is it that I enjoy about 01? I enjoyed 01 because it had a nice balance between being serious and being comedic, being funny. What I also enjoyed was the soundtrack. You can never beat the soundtrack. The soundtrack to me was golden. When you hear the X-Laws coming in, shit is going to go down. When Hal comes in, stuff is going to go down. It's just the soundtrack itself was amazing. Going back to the first thing that I said about, being comedic and funny, Horo is a perfect example. He was created to be the comic relief, but when he gets serious, he really gets serious. The same with Choco Love. I love his useless attempts of, jokes, and you see Ren and Horo especially, that they're sick and tired of his lame brain jokes, to the point where we see a couple of times fighting each other, beating Choco Love up. It was hilarious. And seeing Ren just react the way that he does with those jokes is very hilarious as well, because Ren, he's the type of person that he is cool, calm, and collective, but when something like that happens, he is he sticks out his spear, tries to poke Choco Love on the nose, punches him, and those were good times. And with Ren, he had a dark past. He wants to change. He wants to be a kid, but due to the pressures of his dad and him becoming the heir to the Tao clan, it just builds pressure on a young lad. And he was supposed to be 11, 12, 13. It's pretty young, and he's mature for his age. He is mature. But he was such a terror in the earlier episodes because he believed that he was so entitled. He could get away with anything. He even committed murder, Necrom's brother, But thanks to Yoh, he wanted to change. Yoh wanted to be his friend, and he ended up changing. And of course, he had this rivalry, and even though his resolve was satisfied in the end. We never really got the chance to see who was superior, Yoh or Ren. We never got the chance to see that. Um, Yoh was, very laid back, relaxed. He never he he was the type of person who never lets anyone get to him all that much, except with Faust and what he was doing with Manta. And I mean, let's face it, Manta was his only friend before everybody else. And Manta was a normal kid who could just see ghosts. And he will do anything to, help him and save him because, again, before he met Manta, he was a loner. He still had Anna, but he never had a true friend. And, and you see that brotherly love Manta and Yoh have, especially towards the end, because when Manta was possessed by Mosuke, as you know, it unlocks, the potential of him being of someone being a shaman. The same way that happened with Ryu, he got possessed, and now he is a shaman. And it's something that I wish it was carried on to the to the reboot, which it didn't happen. That's unfortunate in my opinion. But just to have him, say like he maybe become a shaman, and just the idea of having Mosuke as the guardian spirit and Yoh having a Minomaru just says that, that's friendship in my opinion, if it makes any sense, because Aminomaru and Mosuke are best friends back in the Edo period, and then present day Yoh and Manta are like best friends, and there's a lot of symbolism right there. And Manta being left behind after the Yoh Yohs went to America, he felt like he needed to be there, but eventually he does. And he would do anything for Yoh because Yoh is his best friend, and I enjoy their relationship. With Yoh, like I said, he's laid back, never lets anyone phase him. When he gets serious, he will get serious. If not, then he is chill, and he has his moments, trust me, to the point where he gets slapped by people, mainly Anna. But when he gets serious, he will get serious. Let's see who else. Lyserg, if you have seen all of my reviews concerning Lyserg, oh my god, he was a party pooper in that group, because even though his backstory was tragic and he wanted to form a group with people because he wants to join the most powerful shamans in the tournament, because he felt that they could help each other out to kill Hao. And that's when Lyserg met Yoh. It was through the Lily Five, which I will mention them a little bit later. In the beginning, he was desperate, and of course, to the point where he severely injured Horo and Ren, and you can remember in both versions, Lyserg destroyed both of their weapons. And yeah, it was pretty bad. And that's when, again, Yoh was like, that's where he became very serious. And he ends up beating him and slapping him to make him realize, hey, what you're doing is wrong and killing is wrong. However, we will, once we get the boys to the hospital, we will listen to your story and then we will decide what to do next. And ultimately, he ends up joining. But then during this American journey, by God, he is such a party pooper. He always says that he's weak. I'm not strong as you guys. How would I defeat how? And it's just, even after Ryu was telling his side of his story, how he became a shaman, and just and the other friends are trying to get positive vibes, everything's gonna be all right, he is still a Debbie Downer. And then as they were traveling from place to place doing side quests, he was not having it. Even though he was keeping things to himself, he just didn't like how Yoh and the others were wasting time helping others along the way, because he figured it's a waste of time. We should be going. We were trying to find Patch Village. We were wasting time with helping people on that stuff. You can really tell. And it's just, dude, just enjoy the ride. Seriously. I mean, they don't know where to go. They don't. And then up to the point where they made it to the church, well, before that, they met the X-Laws, and everything changed for Lyserk, because he felt like maybe sticking with Yoh isn't the right thing for me to do. Maybe joining the X-Laws is what's best for me, since their interests align with his, and he was impressed with, he was in awe of them, And then that turning point where, with, the fake vampire and the church and all that, and also the X-Laws, killing him, and also that one kid that Hal, sent, and then the X-Laws, killed him too, and he just left with the X-Laws, even after what they did to, 2 people, because he was hell-bent in a way. And within the X-Laws, he was struggling. Even he wasn't able to kill people who the X-Laws deemed to be evil. Again, going back to, Team Nile. And then at the end of that match, I mean, Marco was not, he was slapping him, yelling at him. And it was brutal, but at that point I was like, I don't care, Marco, just do it, because I couldn't stand Lyserk. And Lyserk took a really, like, he kidnapped Manta just to get, Yoh and the others to come to the Gate of Babylon and use them as a sort of sacrifice. Because if you remember, the plan was to get Yoh into the gate and have Hal come in after, and then they were both to die inside the gate, whatever. And he used Manta, man. He used Manta. But after that failed, he was lost, and then he saw his three, four companions killed by Hao, and their souls almost about to get eaten. And that's when I think Lyserg, in the forest, just said, you know what, I'm gonna help Yoh and his friends now. And he ended up saving them from the followers of Hao, if you remember. And he ended up saving Ren's life. And at the end of the episode, everybody had forgave Lyserg. And to me, that was a beautiful thing, and I have a love-hate relationship for this particular Lyserg. Then with Ryu, typical bad guy at the moment, and then he was impressed by Yoh and his, shaman powers, and he wanted to become a shaman. And obviously at that time he doesn't have any shaman powers until he got possessed, and that's when he became a shaman under Mikihisa. And what I enjoy in this version too is that he has this song that, if you remember, like every time he rides his motorcycle and he was with Manta or just by himself, he has this song he always sings, and it didn't happen in the reboot, which sucks. which sucks. And the whole situation with him and Lyserg, it didn't make sense, because even after it was confirmed that Lyserg was a boy, he still had the hots for him. And you could see him devastated when Lyserg left the group, and he was determined to bring him back. And I think the boys, mainly Ren and Yoh, was like, give it up, Ryu, he ain't coming back. If he wants to come back, he knows where we are. But right now, he ain't coming back. But there were times where Ryu and Lyserg keep meeting each other. He's just, I'm not gonna give up on you. You could always come back. But I never understood the whole crush he had with Lyserg. It didn't make sense. It just came out of nowhere. And towards the end, we never had a real explanation, because again, if Lyserg said, like, straight up, like, I don't remember if, well, I think Horror pointed out, dude, this is not a chick. and Lyserg was like, yeah, I'm not a chick. And then they went back, and he ends up yelling, and then he went back into the room, which was funny, but and he did want it to become a sushi chef, I believe, in this version. I don't remember exactly, but he did have dreams that once he becomes king, he wants everyone to feel that they have a special place, the perfect place, I think. And that was his main goal. But with his goal aligned with Yoh's goals, he figured, well, if I don't become king, then Yoh can be king, because our interests aligns. Other than that, I don't remember much, but if I remember something, I could always go back. Chocolove, I mentioned before, he's his lame brain jokes, oh my god. And how he does his research was pretty funny as well. Like I said, most of the characters know when to be funny and when to be serious, and he uses his way of bringing laughter in his own way, and he ends up winning. And that's something nobody ever does, because everything is by brute force. But with Choco Love, he uses laughter as the key to defeating his opponents, which is very impressive. Who else am I missing? Anna is always Anna. There's nothing about her that, she's always serious. There's moments where, especially at the end, you see her, devastated that Yoh is temporarily dead. You see moments where if she gets really offended, she is holding no punches. I remember this weird team with the eagle, the fish, and the sea turtle, whatever, and they were calling out Yoh's team because it was the name of their team and also for their future inn. And they said that whoever came up with that name is like, doesn't, it's stupid. And how does a samurai, how is the samurai, with the spa, whatever, I forget. And you see Anna with almost like wants to go into the ring to just say, hey, hey, what the hell? I come up with that name, And that was hilarious. I mean, I have to admit, that was really hilarious to see that side of her because she's always serious. And if someone pissed her off or does something they're not supposed to be doing, hence was with Horo, like always, and from his introduction episode into sleeping in the inn, just like what the hell. And you see her trying to kick Horo out or try to make him pay for living there, and it was really hilarious. We don't see that side of her in the reboot. She's always serious, which just sucks, in my opinion. When you have serious characters, sometimes, if we get to see a side of them we don't normally see, to me, it's like, it tells me that they're human. They're not always serious. They're not always mean. Manta, he was just a kid who was trying to live his life, and then after he encountered Yoh, everything changed for him. And since then, they've been buddy, even at the end where he returns from school and he sees not only Ren there, but also Anna cooking, and it's a shocker. And just to see him there together, I just, find it cool. But with Manta in the reboot, there's more information about him that we never had the opportunity to explore in the original. Which, and it's one of the positives on the reboot, so I'm not gonna, mish it together. I'm just gonna try to do it separate here. The Lily Five, they were like my favorite girl team. They were hilarious. They were the Team Rocket of, Shaman King. They were the ones who sabotaged Ren's private jet. They were after Yoh from the beginning. And there was moments where I think they were lost, and one of the girls, all of them encountered the Yoh Yohs, and they asked, hey, you know where to go to Patch Village, because they were stalking them. Let's face it, they don't even know where it is either. So they figured, well, let's follow Yoh, because, we've been after him for a while, so he probably knows where to go. And for the most part in the journey to Patch Village, you encounter the Lily Five all the time, and it was Yoh who gave them that team name. And Sharona was the only person that didn't have like a Lily name. The rest of them did. And it was funny how they were mentioning it in the back while they were like, wait a minute, All of them are lilies except like Ellie, Millie, Ellie, whatever. And this who girl who's supposed to be the leader of the group doesn't have a Lee, and like they were the Ashleys and of the group as well. Um, but there were times where the Yo-Yohs did help the girls out, and in return, they did the same for them, and I find it very, very cool. My favorite episode, one of my favorites, is when Millie got her Oracle Bell stolen, and she was crying, and I think she found Yo in the group, and she asked them for help, and then that turned into a wild goose chase. Oh my god, that was the most funniest episode, and she drew what the culprit looked like, and I remember the thief was named after a truck, and when she finished drawing, everybody was staring at it, and I'm like, what the hell is this? And Yo was impressed by the drawing, and by the time that they caught up with the thief and just noticed and remembers the drawing, it's like, oh wait, you're the guy from the drawing, and everybody was like, oh my god, are you serious, Yo? Yo is like the type of character who appears dumb, but he's not. I think he plays dumb when he wants to be. I don't know. Yo is like the most complicated character. Like, you assume you know him, but there are some things, but he just pulls you under the rug and like surprises you. Yo is a complicated character. I'm telling you, but he's a lot of fun. I wish that they would have put the Lily 5 on the reboot, but the reboot is all about matching what the manga did. And from what I understood, I mean, they never got to finish the manga. That's why the ending was all anime stuff. They never finished the manga. I think they finished it right after. I'm like, personally, if you want to turn a manga into an anime, please make sure that they're almost done with it. That way you don't make things up. That's just my opinion. I mean, look what happened with Black Clover. We had to wait like, I don't know how many years for it to get done and to continue on. But their mistake was they tried to turn it into Dragon Ball Z, and look what happened there. If they didn't turn it into a Dragon Ball Z One Piece thing, then they would have been fine. But oh well, it's their choice. And then you have Mikihisa. He's a teacher. He's been around. He's been watching over Yo and the others for quite some time. He's been there since Yo was born, and evolving how, and the sense of responsibility. Speaking of how, well, before I move on to how, Mikihisa helped Ryu. He helped the Yoh Yohs trained. I mean, he did his best. He really did his best. And we never have seen him without his mask, because if you remember, he was severely burned due to the spirit of fire. And we never once seen, except for that one time, seen Yo's mother before. We got a chance in the reboot, which, it's fine, And then with how he is OP from the very beginning. He was a daimyo, if I remember correctly. He was the founder of the Asakuras, And the reason that he turned evil is because the people around him was so scared of him. And um they just have this enormous fear, um and they want to control him to, if he gets too powerful, he will turn on us. And for the most part, he was good. He was doing his thing, dealing with demons, dealing with ghosts. And that's when he became the founder of the Asakuras, the Great Daimyo. But somewhere down the line, these people who he helped turn on him, and that's when he turned bad. That's where he decided that, humans are evil, they're disgusting, and he heard about this Shaman King tournament, the Shaman King and all that, and he figured, once I become Shaman King, I will remake the world, but there's no humans. It's going to be a perfect utopia. It's only for shamans only. But then, it was cut short. The Asakuras and other people turned on him and they killed him, not before he did a ritual that will allow him to be resurrected in any time period, I believe, or every 500 years, because his plan was to be in the right timeline for him to participate in the shaman tournament. That's the plan. And so he died and he got resurrected, but he was resurrected as part of the patch. So I assume Hao learn and study about the patch and the 5 elemental spirits. And then when he was resurrected as Patch, he stole one of the elemental spirits. He stole the spirit of fire, and then once he stole that spirit, he was trying to gain some followers. Some people did join while others did not, and if those who don't join him, they end up getting killed. And then luckily he was killed, which we discovered on the reboot. That was Matamone and a member of the Asakura family. So he was killed, and then he was resurrected again, and he was born. And here's the part where Hao is like, I'm resurrected, and Mikahisa is my dad, and Yoh apparently is my brother. But now, at this point, Yoh was never meant to be born, according to him. He sees Yoh as a piece of his power. He felt like when, he was born, something happened that made him separated, and his power became a separate being. And his main goal, aside from becoming king, is, hey, train your son, because I need him to become strong, so that way I can assimilate him and become whole. So that's another part of his goal. And that's it. And he was doing well in the tournament because he was OP, obviously. And his origin story was straightforward. We understood why the Asakuras they needed to kill Hao once and for all, because it was a stain on their past, their history, and they felt that if they kill Hao, that burden is free, that stain is free. But in this version, they achieve what they needed to achieve. They trained Yoh, and at the tail end of of the season of the series, he did accomplish the Asakura. He redeemed the Asakura family. by killing Hao. And he was doing well, Hao was, but for whatever reason, he decided to take matters on his own, matters into his own hands. Because after the whole Gate of Babylon incident, he decided that, you know what, we no longer need the tournament anymore. I'm just gonna take it by force, which it happened. He was powerful, but thanks to Yoh and the rest of his friends, they kill Hao. But at the very end, the tournament has been suspended. They don't know when exactly it's gonna resume, or if it's gonna resume. So everything is going back to normal until that last scene where the Oracle bell rings and the tournament's back on. But with Hao, it's a straightforward villain story, character, and his soundtrack was pretty badass. He will stop at nothing to get what he wants, and he is willing to discard anybody that he deems weak. There were moments where, yeah, he has a soft side, but, there were times where if he views someone as weak, he just discards them. And if he wants somebody in his group and they say no, well, you know what happens to them. He even tried to recruit Ren, which, he didn't work. He didn't, do anything to convince Ren to join Hao at all, not even the reboot. Because both versions, he wanted Ren to join him because, he has similar beliefs, and he was, telling him, I can offer you more power than the tome, that and more if you join me. But it didn't work because Ren, as you know, he's very stubborn and he wants to beat people with his own power. And I think that's the reason why he didn't really turn, because he's very stubborn. He wants to use his power, his own power. And yeah, I mean, the way he died was pretty epic too, I want to say something about Ren here because I felt like I didn't really say much about him, because to me, Ren is also one of my favorite characters. Again, he is very stubborn. He wants to do things his way. He has a nice side. Once you get to know him, I did enjoy Anna just calling him out, because there were moments where he was starting to have brotherly love towards his older sister. He blushes every time he sees her, and there's moments where, again, he's a very serious character, but if you get him in the right moment, you see him blushing to getting this funny reaction on his face. And Chocolove does that, he does. And there were one moment too where he was surrounded by women and he was blushing, and you get to see him with a kiss on the cheek, and horror pointing it out, and he was brushing it off, I don't know what you're talking about, dude. That was funny, I have to say. His resolve after beating his dad, that I will forge my own path. Your way of hatred is, it's not my way. No, thank you. I will find a way to defeat hatred, and the symbolism of where his tattoo disappears, it symbolizes him moving on, moving past his father's, because as you remember, the Tao family was at the same level as the Asakuras. The only difference is that they were The only difference, well, I can't say there was a difference, but their own people who they helped and saved turned on them, and they banished them to the far reaches of China. And since then, they wanted to get revenge, and Tao En wanted to use his son as a tool for revenge, and to have him become king to, bring back, the glory that was the Tao dynasty, whatever. But Ren, after meeting Yoh, says, I will do that, but in a different way. I will forge my own path. And he even said at that trilogy, whatever, is that, look, you know, you may betray me in the worst possible way, but I'm not going to deter from my true path. I'm not going to turn evil again because of you betraying me. And that to me was a powerful quote, and I wish I had it written down somewhere, but that quote to me was very powerful. It just goes to show how much Ren has indeed changed, and he wants to change for the better. And towards the end, you see him relax and just visiting Yoh's inn, even though Tao Jun was like, hey, do me a favor and drop this off at their house. And to see him, watching television, eating Anna's snacks, I think it was. And then Yoh comes in, and then again, watching Anna cook, and you see Ren and Yoh just seeing it happening before their eyes, and then Montauk joins in. I enjoy that very much. But what was disappointing though, is that we never had the final the fight between Necron and Ren that needed to happen. It didn't happen in the original. It did happen in the reboot, but it was so lackluster and one-sided. They missed the mark right there. Because Necron and some other patch member versus Silva and Kareem, and they're battling out because Necron and his buddy was siding with Hal, and Silva and Kareem had no choice but to face them in order to pass through the pillars and hopefully meet with Yoh. And that fight to me was pretty good. It's just I wish it was Ren, but it didn't happen. It did not happen. There were the characters that we met in the anime in this particular version, we never see in the original except for Lily Lala, which, by the way, she lived in this episode, this season, in this version. I mean, she lives. However, in the reboot, she gets killed. Let's see. I forgot about Faust. Faust at first was like, he was a villain because he was the shaman that everybody was trying to avoid. Even Silva was like, I hope Yoh doesn't encounter him, and him meaning Faust, because what he did to his competitors and to the person the patch member who was in charge of giving out the Oracle Bell. All of them are in charge of doing that, but just hit the charge and of the stories that happened. And when Monta pointed out a couple of things that were like, yeah, but this, and this, and I read this, and I read that, and Faust became mildly crazy, which led him to kidnapping him, to doing surgery on him right in front of Yoh's eyes. It was so creepy and very dark. And just when you think that we will never see him again, we see him later. And Anna was the one who recruited him. And Manta was like, I'm surprised Manta didn't really say anything. Like, I think he did, but he never expressed his feelings, like, towards Anna about why are you letting him join Yoh's team after what he did to me. There was no conversation, but, you know, eventually Manta forgave him, and Faust, apologized for what he did. And Faust, in the beginning, he wanted to become king to resurrect his long lost wife, but Anna offered him a deal, like, there is a way to bring her back in some capacity, and I can teach you, but that means if I offer you this, you need to fight for Yoh. And that's what happened. And also work at the inn. That was also part of the plan. And yeah, Anna, yeah. But, after Faust met up with the rest of the Yoh Yohs, Yoh just like, I wish he could have just said, I don't know about this, Anna, because, after what happened with Manta, I don't know. And I wish Yoh would have said, look, I will take him in, that's fine, but only if Manta is okay with it. I don't remember if it did happen or not, but, if it did, kudos to them, but if not, well, it sucks. But I'm sure Manta had forgave him at that point, and they just move on. And he was a pretty good shaman. He was a doctor, and he was able to heal people, and all those things. So he was very useful. And at the end, you get to see Eliza and Faust at the rooftop, just playing songs and all that, and it was amazing. At first, I could understand what Anna is coming from, because they're gonna encounter strong shamans, and if they get injured, Faust has the ability to heal people. I could see that from a strategic point, but after everything he has done, besides, his name is Faust, and his ancestor was the original Faust, and the whole story about that. But at that point, Faust became likable, and Manta trying to avoid him as much as possible, and it's pretty funny. It was pretty funny. But at the end, they became friends, and they, everything is cool now. Let's see, what else? Who else am I missing? The whole 62 episode thing, it didn't felt that long, because I was having so much fun. There was so much adventure, and it was serious when it needed to be. Great moments. The soundtrack was the best. I enjoyed the characters very much. The show itself, I mean, if there was a DVD and not bootleg, I will gladly buy it and watch it over and over again. And it'll be like, I would never get tired of it. I would never get tired of it. It's really cool. And the moment when I finished the last review and recap of 01, something like, I got emotional. And it was weird, because after watching it so many times, I never got emotional until now. Until then. I think it's because I took the time to really dissect the episode. I took my time on what I disliked and what I enjoyed, and really get deep into the show, while the other times I didn't. You know what I'm saying? Because I was doing a review, and I could have just done a review just solely on the reboot. But everybody does that. Everybody would do that. And I wanted to do something different. I wanted to do a compare contrast on what it was different and what was the same. And I will tell you this. All the characters that we met in America didn't show up. Except for Lily Lala, and Lily Lala was alive. She wasn't killed off. The whole encounter with what else is different if I remember? Gail, or Gain, she wasn't there either. The introduction of horror, like the introduction of horror, it did not happen either. Because in the reboot, they came straight into the first match between Yoh and him, and we get a little bit, we never got an origin story from horror once we hit the reboot, there was no extra backstory in most of the characters. That's what I'm trying to say. They're not there wasn't any information until you hit the reboot. There was like, oh, I didn't know this. How come this wasn't in the original? How come that wasn't in, that sort of thing. Let's see. I keep forgetting. I keep forgetting this one thing, one team. But I will come back. I will come back. Let's see. The sense of adventure, the sense of friendship and change and redemption, all those things, love, like everything was all there, everything was all there, and had those funny moments. And there are some characters that came in late or came too soon. I remember when Yoh wants to travel to China, they met the boss, while boss came in a different time. Oh yes. Yoh and maybe Manta was there too. They were cutting across this path back home, and then this is where they met the boss. While in the original, they cut through the graveyard and they met boss there just to travel to China. So there's some episodes that they came in late, or later, or early. So that, it's not the same on that. That's what I'm trying to say. Okay. I almost missed the X-Laws, okay? I almost missed them. Marco will always be a douche. Will always be a douche. He's always his first priority is Lady John, always. And it's always disciplining Lizer, especially when he never took his lessons seriously, especially to the killing and all that stuff, because to them everything is black and white. Their origin story is very, tragic, because everybody has been affected by how, in some way, shape, or form. And and the fact that their spirits are actually angels is pretty cool, even though I kind of noticed that they look more transformery, but we get to understand more the reason why in the reboot. And he doesn't like the word no all that much, because when he approached Yoh that, hey, we're interested in you guys, and we see potential X-Laws, and that sort of thing, he stuck his hand out, but Yoh said, no, there's no way in hell. And he's in his facial reactions, there were like, holding his tongue a bit, but no, that's fine. We'll take your time, think about it, and then again, like, no, I'm not interested. And then he's like hell bent on killing Yoh, because once he discovered that he is the twin of how he is automatically the ultimate sinner. He's the ultimate evil because Yoh shares the same blood as How, so he needs to be killed. He needs to be gone. And Lyserg was doing everything within his power to convince Marco to not kill his friends. He's been trying to convince him and say, hey, let me do it. Let me at least try. Until, again, Yoh point blank say no, And these people, again, they view things black and white. And the moment they look at you funny, they deem you as a sinner. Until you claim that you've been repented, and because perfect example, look what happened to Team Nile, and they were not even a part of Howe's cult at all, and I felt even to this day that they were out of line, and they were willing to kill anybody, especially the followers of Howe, without breaking a sweat. Because in this version they killed off 2 people, I believe. And my God, I mean, it's just there's no such thing as redemption. For there's no such thing. And Yoh was like, even though you claim to be the good guys, but you kill people. I mean, I don't kill people. It's not the way. And Marco is like, no, F you, this and that. You can imagine. But, can you imagine if the Yoh Yohs agreed to join the X-Laws? Can you imagine them wearing uniforms like that and just being like under the wing of Marco and Lady John, just following their orders? Do you see Ren doing that? Nope, I don't see it. With Ren, he is a leader, but he also views Yoh as a leader, and he sees Yoh as an equal. So, like, there were moments that Ren could have just rebelled a little bit, but he knows that Yoh is not that stupid that he appears to be. And I remember that Ren knew about the whole cabin in the woods and it could be a trap, but Yoh was like, let's walk the trap, let's just go for it. He knows. And it was just a funny, God, that episode was very funny. But back to the X-Laws. Lady John, she has a superiority complex. She thinks that she is touched by God. And we don't know much about her backstory, and all that we know in this particular version that she's been touched by God, and she is going to cleanse the world from sin, and the same usual stick that we're gonna cleanse evil, everything's gonna be good. Everybody's going to be in peace. The perfect utopia. It sounds good from the outside, but I'm not sure about the inside. It sounds too good to be true. But the good thing about Lady John, though, is that she is not aggressive. She is very passive. She is almost like a delicate flower, but she's a good leader. She holds her followers to heart and is willing to do anything to kill Hal, because she used a lot of her power to open the gate of Babylon, and she is willing to sacrifice herself as well. She could hold her own against Hal, but even she isn't that powerful. But give credit when credit is due. Her character, she is relaxed. She is holier than thou, which that can be a problem. She's very judgmental. Poor Team Nile. Yeah. My God. I mean, she views Yoh as a threat, which, oh my God. I'm telling you, the X-Laws view things black and white. If you're a follower of Hal, then you're gone. You're dead. And speaking about the followers of Hal, not much information is about them, and what I remember, they were killed off. Some of them survived, others did not. The whole backstory about the vampire thing, it was very sad, and the whole reason why, I forgot his name, but he turned his vampire hunter into his guardian spirit, because this so-called vampire hunter was the one responsible for killing his parents, and at the end, like, the spirit felt very responsible for his downfall, and up to the end where he made this vampire made this sacrifice where he put himself on the line for Yoh, because I remember Yoh was standing up against the X-Laws, and Marco was about to kill Yoh, but the vampire, I'm sorry, do forgive me, but you guys who already seen the show, you know who I'm talking about. He sacrificed himself to save Yoh, and to me was like, an impactful moment. And after everything that was said and done, the spirit said, people can change, and I will go where he is, which unfortunately he's in hell, and I will protect them still, because he is a tormented soul, and he was the one who led him down that dark path in the beginning. And even to that end, I think he was proud to see him just take that hero sacrifice, and to see that there is hope for someone like him. You know what I'm saying? And we didn't get a chance in the reboot. It was thrown away. I think that's all I can remember, at least the positives. The negative, there's not so much. I mean, nothing I can think of. I think the majority of it has been mostly positive, I think the only negative thing is, I wish there was more backstory. I wish there were like an episode where how did Anna met Yoh, and just in general, more origin stories. And with Lucisto again, it was strange that he had a similar angel just like the X-Laws, and there was no explanation as to why. It's just more origin story, more story in the characters, that sort of thing, if you get my drift. But other than that, I think that is it for for the old one version. As for the 2021 version, do I see myself rewatching this again? I don't think so. There were a couple of things that I liked and enjoyed, but what was missing in this version, like, I felt there was something missing. Like, they took away what the old one had that made it so much fun. And I think it's because maybe the pacing of the show, how everything felt rushed, especially towards the tail end of the season. And there was disappointing things as well. The soundtrack, it was very disappointing. I didn't like it. I didn't like the fact that they didn't do justice for Necron and Ren in the cave plant, because Necron wanted revenge for his brother's death, and here I thought this was going to be a blood match, but it didn't happen. It was rushed, and it was completely one-sided. And even though Necron had a couple of hits, at the end of the day, Ren was the victor. And it was so disappointing. It was rushed. I wanted it to be, personal. And at the tail end of the match, I wanted them to be still standing, bloodied, and as they were about to do something, one of them collapses and they die. And that would have been, a perfect end, because they left everything in this match. But it was so completely one-sided, and they dropped the ball on this one. I'm sorry. And with Silva versus Yoh, again, they rushed it. I didn't enjoy it. Even though Silva at the end was very proud of Yoh, and he was happy to let him be the one to end him at that moment. But ultimately, from starting from the beginning in Mew towards at least the space plant, I didn't enjoy it at all. To me, it was a waste, because we all knew that Hao was gonna wake up before they make it to the altar. And I don't know. I just personally didn't like it, due to, like, what is the point to having these two matches that was so lackluster, Okay, so I mentioned that. Also, the soundtrack, again, it sucks. What is it? That I didn't... Oh, yeah, Hao becoming Shaman King. I didn't enjoy that either, because Hao has done so much atrocities that even then they let him become king. And mind you, it was all by default. Everybody quit, because the plan was, okay, let's make it to the altar and then kill him in his sleep. Yeah, but you had to go through every member of the patch in order to get to him. I don't. It just it felt so again disappointing. Um, but at least the yo-yos have their elemental spirits, but I feel that there it's just okay. You didn't become king, but you will you will get second place. You will get your own personal elemental spirit. Good job. I know the plan changed. Yo wanted to kill him by the heart, by the soul, and kill him through love, which it happened. It happened. And, you saw the spirits again, the people who died, and to see Hao's mother. And here's the thing. Here's the ticket here. What makes Hao's mom so special? Because why did these goons attack her? Did they try to rob her? Was she labeled as a witch because she was a shamaness, whatever? What was the main reason behind Hao's mom's, killing and all that? Because that at that point, was the root that made Hao go on this path of, I want to kill all humans and create a utopia for shamans. But, again, I wish there was more information. And also, I wanted more backstory as to what happened after, he lost his mom. Because we only saw a glimpse of it when he was on the streets, wrapped up all alone, and you see all these demons, except you see one particular figure, the spirit that looks like a bunny, and he was the one that I think saved him from the demons, I think. And I wish there was more information on that. And then, again, what made Hao decide to go to the dark path? Because according to Yome, in the scroll, that, he became powerful, but all of a sudden he decided to, go against humans. He learned about the shaman tournament. He wanted to become king to what I'm trying to say here. He wants to become king to achieve his dream, but was he affected by demons or I don't know. It's just, at least the old one, it was crystal clear as to why he wanted to kill all humans. And here, I feel like Hao's reasoning is, well, they killed my mom. And they also, turn on me because I was, powerful, and they assumed that I would turn on them, and they hate me, they fear me, and that sort of thing. I wish I had more information of what caused it. But if the real cause because of the mom's death, then all right, sure. At least we know how he was able to resurrect every 500 years. And, and we all know the reason: to get, one of the elemental spirits and then, participate in the tournament and become king, which it didn't happen until present day, which again, it was by default. Me personally, I didn't like how how he is officially king and not stripped, after all the atrocities he has done. But, that's the way I feel. That's the way I feel. And honestly, I prefer the old one ending anyway. Let's see now. What is it that I didn't enjoy? Oh, yes. With Yoh, I felt that it was a different Yoh. He wasn't like his counterpart. He's a little bit more serious. And also, what I didn't like is that episode where he was at the restaurant. He was telling, his friends. He was talking out loud about, after I read the book, I gotten stronger. And he felt like he could beat, anybody just by himself, and that angered Team Iceman. And that's something that Yoh wouldn't do. He's not a bragger, and to me that kind of threw me off, and I didn't like that. But I guess, I don't know, I'm trying to process my thoughts here, turn it into words, but I can't think of anything else. What else? Oh yeah, I got my train of thought. What I did like though is just, I've noticed that he used to wear a certain t-shirt. The Wii t-shirt. And it was, yeah, I know. It was a knock to his character, being laid back and chill. I get it. I get it, guys. Manta, we get to know his parents. We never had a chance to actually see his family back in 01. And you got to see his mom, his sister, but his dad, oh my god. Another disappointing factor. Why did he bug his son's phone? And why was he after the Great Spirit? And here I thought that after, Anna left Manta and the dad alone, we get to see, the conversation, about why he did what he did. It didn't happen that way. Instead, Manta runs towards Anna in the next episode saying, my dad gave me permission to stay and he left. What the hell was that? No. I didn't like that at all. I didn't like that at all. Let's see. No Lily 5. That was disappointing as well. I mean, there was no Gain or Gale. Yeah, there's no Gale either. I mean, maybe the reason why is they were not part of the manga in the first place, but even still, I mean, you could have added the Lily 5. But, that was disappointing as well. It was 52 episodes, but even still, I felt that the whole show lost something along the way. They wanted to be serious, but along the way, they lost, the sense of fun and adventure. It just became too serious for me. I think that's one of the reasons why, I don't see myself watching this again. Maybe once in a full moon, maybe. But I don't like this version at all. I felt that they took everything that was great about 01 and just decided, we're gonna base it on the manga, but we have to make it serious. I'm like, nah. Choco Love, we get more backstory, which I enjoy. The whole idea of him, being the gang leader, the opposite of what he is now, full of laughter, spreading, the winds of laughter, something that we desperately need today. But the thing is, at least '01 Choco Love, he was making all these lame brain jokes to the point where Horo and Ren was beating him up. We don't see this current Choco Love being all trying to be funny and getting beaten up. It's just he became, more serious. And yeah, they stripped everything that was fun into more serious, which nah. Ren didn't change much. It was weird when he openly said to Yoh in the arena that, I will surpass you, I will beat you. And once Team Ren versus Team Hot Springs finally got their matchup, he was so determined to kill Yoh. I'm like, dude, come on, he's one of your friends. You could at least have him knocked out. Why go through the lengths of trying to kill him? Why? Even though Ren felt a little bit the same, still I felt like they strip him of moments that if you catch him off guard for a bit, you could see, him blushing to trying to deny something. His spiky hair just, goes up when he gets all angry, or shy, whatever it is, I felt like that was missing in Ren. But there were moments where he was eating something and the Yoh Yohs came in and oh, there's Ren, and he's eating with this weird, this funny face he had. Him getting embarrassed by his family, I thought that was funny too. But again, the most disappointing part is that that match he had with Necrom. It was disappointing. Horo became serious as well. He wasn't that funny, good-looking guy in '01. However, I did enjoy his backstory and the reason behind him hating his true name was when he met his crush. And, they were getting together, getting to know, becoming friends until the elder told him not to hang around with her due to the fact that her parents are building a dam, and the elder forbade him to stop talking to her and such. And this is where it takes a dark turn because, she wanted answers from him. He didn't give any answers, and because of it, she tried to go home, but she got lost in the mountains and she died. And the coolest part is that Coral was actually the girl he met in school, and that kind of blew me away. I wonder why they didn't do it in the original. But either way, that was pretty cool. And the whole match between Kareem and Horo, even though I was confused as to why Horo was as you remember, Horo attacked Kareem right away. And he said he had some unfinished business, some personal matters, and like, what are these personal matters? And we never got any answers. And the whole match was all about, just releasing that guilt, believing that he killed his crush, and the reason behind he hating his own name, and to adapt Horo as his true name. And it's just that part kind of gets me a little bit, and that felt great. His costume was pretty good. It was pretty great. But yeah, I think with Horo, it's like for almost every character, it was completely different from the original, except for maybe Ren. Even then, I felt like they were missing the fun and loving side, but that's just me. Lyserg. This version of Lyserg was so much better than the old one, because at least in this version he wasn't a party pooper. He didn't go like, oh, I'm so weak, and to being like hateful towards himself. I felt that he was completely different for the better, and how he encountered the X-Laws, and how he was in awe of them, and then making the jump to the X-Laws. And here's the thing too that I didn't like, just the one thing. Remember that for every shaman who enters Patch Village, receives a vision from the Great Spirit. Lyserg's vision was never revealed. The only thing, I can remember was him waking up, having this evil grin on his face, saying something, and since then, I've been wanting to know what was his vision. And do you think that it was the Great Spirit sending this vision of him defeating Hao or something? But he had this evil grin on his face. And then Marco came in, and and the rest is history. He ended up joining the X-Laws, without having this dramatic thing that happened in 01. I did enjoy Lyserg. It was the same, except the attitude changed for the better. Him dedicated to the X-Laws, even though, just like his 01 counterpart, he was struggling, because again, the X-Laws view things black and white, and they believe, if killing is right, if their opponent is filled with sin and could not repent. I can never forget this scene where Lyserg could not kill the leader of Team Nile, and Marco throwing the Iron Maiden at Lyserg, and everybody in the arena was like watching this unfold, and like, oh my god. Like, 01 Lyserg, okay, sure, but this Lyserg, no. That was just straight up humiliating. Also, what I enjoy is that he wasn't whining and complaining about him not having his own angel. His 01 version, he was whining and complaining. Like, where's my angel? I've been faithful to you guys. I followed every nook and cranny. Where's my angel? And here, no, nope. And then, the whole reveal about angels transforming into cars, their own personal transformers, the origins of the X-Laws. It was Lucisto, the original, the founder of the X-Laws, and, Marco being an orphan. Lady John was not really a girl who's been touched by God. Like, she's not Joan of Arc. She was an ordinary girl. And, that was like, I didn't saw that coming either. Just like Lily Lai getting killed off by Hal. That was insane. Let's see. He didn't get his revenge, but he got the Spirit of Fire, which I wonder, like, how would he be able to master this particular spirit, the same spirit that, burned his family. Like, there was no, like conflict. Like, I don't know if I be able to take this spirit as my own, especially after my greatest enemy. This is my greatest enemy's spirit, and he used this spirit to kill people, especially my family. How would I be able to go forward with the Spirit of Fire? I wish that could have happened, but it didn't. Let's see. So again, I enjoy the extra backstory. Miki Hiza with his swimming shorts. God. And his mini apprentices, the kids, they have a very sad backstory. I don't remember seeing them in 01. Maybe I missed them, but at least in this version the kids had something to do. And it's sad what Chocolate did to them, but he is very sorry, and he even decided to go blind because he wanted to understand what they have felt. And he said that to Yoh, like, why didn't you ask Grand Heart to heal your eyes? Because he said, I said to them not to punish myself, but to understand the kids. Again, I just don't like this version of Choco Love where he's serious and not spreading lame brain jokes. And the whole mouth situation, like, I didn't even realize it until someone pointed it out. And we all know the reason why they didn't add that particular mouth in this version. We all know the reason why, so I'm not gonna get into it. Even though it's stupid. Yes. The whole, how Yoh met Anna. We finally know how they met, and to me that was pretty cool. And Matamone wasn't even in the original, and we understood that it was he and the Asakura ancestor that killed Hal when he was a patch member. So we know who killed Hal that first or second time. And in the bracelet or the necklace with the 3 claws, the 3 claws. Now I understand why Yoh always wears them, because Matamone was like someone who you could depend on, a friend, and his first spirit, I guess. And to see him go, I mean, must be devastating for him. And he carries, the necklace, as a memento. Again, I wish there were things that happened in this reboot transferred into the old one, but the manga wasn't even finished yet, so it is what it is, I guess. I love Matamone very much. Anna, this is Anna is different as well, because in 01 she was all serious, scary, and we don't see her be vulnerable until the very end. But in this version, we get to see Anna, be a little bit more laid back on the seriousness. We get to see her pouting. We get to see her daydream of becoming the wife of the Shaman King. And she was like, even if Yoh doesn't become king, maybe I'll become a mistress in my own inn and all that. She'd be ruling her inn while the others are her slaves, and that was fun. Let's see. But even though she was a little bit laid back on the seriousness, Yoh gets freaked out every time she pops in. Like, oh, she's here. And he always gets slapped. So even though this particular Anna didn't feel like my Anna from 01, but still, I think that I know what they were trying to do, and to me it was okay. At least you get to see a little bit more vulnerability on Anna's side, and that's what I like. How I already explained, I don't need to go over that. What else? The patch is all dead. I don't think how resurrect them. Towards that end, to the ending, we all know that the Yoh Yohs came back to life. But my question is, did he resurrect everybody else? Or is only just a certain few? And I think, because here's the thing. We've seen all our heroes back. We've seen, Team Flower come back, because you see him in the background. Of course, the Asakura family came back. I'm sure the Ren Tao family came back as well. So I just want to know, did everybody came back, or it's just a certain few? Oh, baby Ren is so cute. There, I said it. I mean, he is. Ming, I think that's his name. Ming? Or Ling? Ming or Ning? But either way, he's cute. Let's see. I can't think of anything else, because I already stated the positives and the negatives of this version. However, if I missed anything or anybody, please write in the comments below, and I'll probably write, my reply of what I thought about it in either version. Overall, like I said, I maybe once in a while, once every full moon, I'll probably, if there was the reboot coming up, I'll probably watch it. But at the end of the day, it's meh to okay. It's okay. It's just overall, I felt that this version of Shaman King was missing the heart and the sense of adventure and fun. And that's what I think it was missing. The soundtrack was bad. There were some things that happened in that show I did not like. Even though I did enjoy the added backstory, the graphics, it was okay. It was good. Yeah, I'm gonna say that. It was good. Good to okay on the graphics. But it was a given because, when it's a reboot, everything has to be new. Everything has to be new. There were some cases in the reboot, the episodes that happened in the original didn't make it to the reboot because 52 episodes, and already after the qualifiers they made it to the airport, and then already stranded in the desert, and then quickly they found Patch Village, and then the tournament has officially begun, and everything was very quick. And I just, guys, take your time with it, but it is what it is. And maybe I was biased from the beginning because I knew for the fact that I was going to enjoy the old one version better. And maybe I was biased. Maybe I was. But at least I gave what I thought were, the reasons why I dislike this, like that. But at the end of the day, they're just opinions. There's just opinions. But, if I were to choose between this version versus the old version, I feel that the old one version is still my top version of Shaman King, even though it wasn't, it wasn't based on the manga. Maybe it was from the beginning, but I choose Shaman King 01 as being the best, even though it didn't match the manga, which again they didn't finish, but I enjoyed it because there was heart, it was fun, it was adventurous, it had its moments, and I do see myself watching it over and over again. And for the reboot, I'm sorry, but I just don't see myself watching it again. I don't. It was okay. It was okay, and they were trying to match the manga. It's just there were some things taken that made the original great. And that's just my opinion, This was a long video, guys. And for those who made it to the end, thank you. Because it wasn't easy for me. Because everything was by memory. And, I was trying to collect my thoughts and put it into words. And, I didn't want it to be as detailed as I wanted it to be. But it needed to be said, And I tried to remember every detail in terms of what was different, what was the same. And, maybe I did a bad job. I don't know. But, for the most part, just to summarize, that in the beginning stages of both shows, they remain the same, except that we didn't get a horror introduction episode. We didn't get a Gale episode. For horror, his introduction was his match between him and Yoh. And mind you, everything was rushed. Not rushed, but more like in a quickened pace. There were some episodes that, again, they were still the same, but it was different in the reboot than it is in the original, but the ending was the same regardless of those differences. The only thing that made all of things different is when they made it to the airport. They saw Hal, and the difference was Ren went on his private jet, while in the other version they made it inside this particular airplane. And what really what I'm trying to say is, like, everything remained the same up until they made it to the desert. Because in the reboot, they saw and met Lily Lala, while the old version, they were traveling and trying to find, where is Patch Village, until episodes later, after Lyserg decided to join the X-Laws and met Choco Love. That's when they met Lily Lala. And mind you, Choco Love made it to the group earlier in the original than the reboot. In the reboot, after Lyserg didn't return, Choco Love came in and say, hey, I need partners, because if I don't, I'll be disqualified. They met Choco Love in Patch Village. But and you can tell from the reviews, everything was the same. Everybody, like, the road was the same until the videos became 2 instead of 1, and that's, what broke away. There are some events that, they started earlier in one version, and the other version started a lot later. So it's just more like, let's start this event right now, and in this version, let's start it later. That's pretty much what it is. They rearranged some things. That's all. Still, no Lily 5, which sucks. I rambled long enough, but for you guys, again, that made it this long, I thank you. And I do apologize for making this video very long, but, again, this is all based on opinion, all through memory, but more importantly than that, it came from the heart. And if you guys seen both versions, please comment down below and tell me, which version do you prefer? Tell me why you didn't like 01 and you prefer the reboot. Tell me. I really am curious. And another thing, do you want me to review Shaman King Flowers? Let me know. I'm curious. If you want me to review that show, I will do it. If not, then I won't do it. Maybe I will change my mind and do it do it regardless of your decision, but I want to know, do you want me to do flowers? Yeah, so thank you guys for being with me, in this journey. It was a whole year. We made it to this point, guys. We made it. And I'm yet to decide which anime to review. I have a lot of thinking to do. I was thinking doing an old anime, but who knows? Maybe I will do one of the current ones. We'll see. But I don't want to continue rambling. Thank you guys for being with me this long. And I hope you like this giant ass review. And give a like if you like it, and subscribe. And I'll see you all on the other side of Oblivion. See, I can't talk now. I can't talk anymore. But you know the drill, guys. Johnny!